welcome back to Talk with Facts. How's everyone doing? Let me know in the comments. Right, John, introduce yourself. Let everyone know who you are.
Well, I'm Cooking Cruise with John, and I have had some very interesting experiences in my life. And I think the one that really kicked everything off was when I used to be good friends with Annette, or the name's Luna on here. And God, she grew quickly, didn't she, on here?
She grew
That happened quite quick.
she grew very quickly. So, how did you become friends with Annette?
Oh God, it was before TikTok. So it was back in 2017. I went on my first ever cruise.
Right.
Um, and she happened to be in the casino, and when I met her, she was very loud, and she seemed really friendly. So we just were sat next to each other playing, in the casino, and she started talking to me. And really we sort of built up a bit of a friendship, because I'm sure you've seen, when you see Annette in small doses, she actually does come across as quite a nice person.
Yeah,
Um,
kind of endearing a
exactly.
bit. Yeah.
A- And interesting. That's why people watch her, right? Because her life is interesting. So, in small doses, like that week that I was on the cruise with her, when I saw her for an hour or two or whatever, we just chatted, and we got to talking. We became friends on Facebook, and then we arranged to go on future cruises together. And then I met up with her at her house, and went for lunch, and then we went to the Star Trek convention together.
Oh, lovely.
Um, yeah, so we did a number of little things over the number of years. Yeah.
Given all of that, Spock was always my favourite original series. I knew she was a Trekkie. Which kind of blew my mind. So, taking you back to the first cruise when you met her, can you remember some of those early conversations? Did you spend a lot of time with her over that week?
Yeah, well, I had a lot of empathy for her because she was talking about her health conditions, and this was the first time I'd heard it. I could see that she was obviously in a wheelchair and she needed help. She obviously was quite a lonely person, so it was nice to talk to someone and learn a bit about their life. And she seemed really friendly. Those conversations initially were really just talking about how it was going in her life, what she used to do, how she struggles with things nowadays, and how she loves going on cruises once a year. And really, that's where the conversation sort of started.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I said, really interesting initially.
What was it like to go around the house for a little meet-up? Were you there for a cup of coffee or something to eat? Or what went on?
She would never let me in, right? So I'd wait outside the house. Okay, so I'd
Really?
be like, yeah, I'd be standing in her front garden, and she'd never let me in. And what I could see from the front door was that her house wasn't very tidy.
Okay.
There was stuff on the floor. There were boxes everywhere. Bits of the rooms were still being worked on. I imagine now, from looking at the content since, there's a lot of bird poo and everything all over the floor as well. So she never really let me inside the property. It was only
Right.
like, we'll go there, we'll sit outside for a little bit, then we'll head off to the nearby pub or the nearby restaurant. And that's really how it all started. For about 4 years, we'd message a bit on Facebook, and then we'd meet up once or twice a year to go to a cruise or go to an event or something like that.
How many cruises did you go on with in it? Could you?
I'd say probably 3 cruises in total.
And of course,
Um,
I know that there was one where everything sort of came to a head, but I don't want to get to that quite yet. When you started hanging around with Annette, obviously you said when you first met her, she wasn't on TikTok. When did she
yes.
become on TikTok? Did she make you aware of it? Did she have a chat with you about it?
She never told me. I was scrolling through TikTok. I rather ashamedly purely had TikTok to watch rather nice looking gentlemen dance on TikTok and things like that. And so I just had it for scrolling through nonsense content, really. And then all of a sudden, I saw that she was just there, sat in her armchair, and I was like, "Hold on a minute, this is, when you scroll past and then you scroll back, and you're like, what?"
Yeah, yeah.
And then there she was, sat there, and I was like, hang on."
Was it a
So I
live?
then
Was it a live stream, or was it a
Yeah, it
video?
was
Right.
live.
Okay.
Yeah, it was live. This was back when she had like 20,000 followers, right, or maybe 10,000 followers, and she was just sat there in her armchair. So I immediately messaged her saying, "Are you on TikTok?" And yeah, it was quite an interesting conversation. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm on here to talk about my bird." Um, and that's how she started TikTok. She just wanted to come on and do content with her bird,
Yeah.
and and meet others to talk about birds and things like that. And that was when she actually was a really nice person on TikTok. You know, back then, before she started doing all the drama and acting out, when she was smaller on TikTok, she was really nice and friendly to people.
Could you see a point where that was turning to her being unfriendly and being more like the Annette we know now?
She started to, as she started to get a few more people coming in, and she started to get to 20 or 30,000 followers. I noticed that she started to be quite harsh in her responses towards people. They were questioning things that she was saying, and she didn't like that.
Were these people just questioning, or was it trolls? Like, I mean, you know, it's a fine line, I suppose, but obviously, was it just that sort of stuff, or was it people being, I suppose, genuine and asking questions rather than trying to dig at it and get a reaction?
I used to think it was just trolls, but I was a moderator for her at that time as well when she was growing from sort of 20, 30,000. She got in with Jack, you know, Frenchie's army.
Yes, and with Jack, yeah.
And they supported her quite a lot. And I think that really, as she started to get a wider audience, she just started reacting badly to people questioning everything that she said. Right. I didn't think they were trolls. I think they were just people genuinely asking.
So what was it like to mod for Annette? Was it hard work?
So she's got 10,000 people blocked on her block list.
That's insane. I saw that video where she was like, and I was just thinking, like, how either fragile have you got to be, or how hated have you got to be, or a combination of them both. So yeah, I thought I would cut in right now and just have a look and see how Luna deals with those trolls, as she claims. Let's have a look at this clip.
Roger, I don't know. You know what, Dee? You can take a hike. You do things your way, I'll do them mine. See ya.
So by step out of line, what they mean is if you don't agree with Luna.
She used to ride around on my mobility scooter, and my previous dog before that, Buster. Well, Beth and Buster overlap. It's a wheelchair rather than a mobility scooter, and yeah. Say the dog falls out the cot. Well, first she's got to get up to get over it. The cot is a cot bed, so it's a lot bigger, a lot deeper than the one she's currently in. You do me a favour, I'm just going to block you.
Here's another person who was clearly disagreeing with what she's saying based on the way Luna's responding, and it's another block, innit?
Right, same rules as last night, guys. If you talk about Slimming World, you're banned.
Now the thing is, the only reason people are talking about Slimming World is because Luna said she was doing Slimming World.
Alright? If you talk about Slimming World, you're banned. Get over. Bingo! Yes, we'll have all the bingo around here.
She had something like 100 different blocked words in her thing that was silly things as well. I know that currently she has the word walking in her blocked list so that people can't question her about her health conditions, so she adds in words that she thinks people will question her on.
But that can be used in so many sentences that have nothing, and then those will just be muted.
That's the problem. So she doesn't see half of the messages, and people's messages don't get through because she's added so many words. Obviously, you had the address in there and things like that, which you would expect to be in there. But yeah, no, modding for her was interesting. It was exciting. You know, it was exciting having someone you knew suddenly getting 200-300 people in there and being in there, and you felt all powerful because you could mute them if you want to. It was a new experience for me. I've never done it before. So initially, I just wanted to help her. I was going on a cruise. She wanted to go on a cruise, but she couldn't afford it. Frenchie's army got together and raised a load of gifts and donations. And
what
they
was
paid
that
for her.
What was that for? To pay for her to go on a cruise?
Yeah, so basically
I didn't know about this.
Yeah, well, the story was that she obviously was not very well, was she? So she's a disabled lady. And so therefore we all got together, and the Frenchie's armies really pushed hard with all their followers to get people to donate so she could go on this short cruise. and they paid. I think it was just under £1,000 for her to go on this cruise. And she came on it with me.
Was that TikTok gifts paying that?
A bit of gifts, a bit of like PayPal as well.
Right,
you know,
okay.
that sort of stuff. They then topped it up themselves to make it up to the full amount. So yeah, Frenchie's Army paid for her to go on this nice holiday.
She's still friends with him?
No,
Or they fell out?
they fell out.
So after doing all of that, there was a fallout?
Yeah.
Do you
so
know much
they,
about that or not? Like,
well, obviously they helped her grow her account, didn't they? She was really small at that point, and they were doing quite well on here, so they helped her grow her account. And then basically it started to fall apart when we went for a party. So we all went over. Me, Annette, my partner, and a couple of others went to the Frenchie's Army's house
right.
for a New Year's Eve party. Okay. During this New Year's Eve party, she wouldn't stop talking about her illnesses. She wouldn't get involved in the fun things we were trying to do. Like, it was kind of like beer pong, but it wasn't beer pong. You know, just funny things that we were doing. She would sit on her chair. Then she did something really inappropriate where she grabbed my partner's head and shoved it into her breasts. Like properly. Yeah, she effectively SA'd him. He didn't overreact, luckily, but you know, the more he looks back on it, the more he thinks that's what it was.
That's just very weird. That's very weird.
It is weird. And her counter argument to that is that, oh, John, there's things I can release about you on that party that people won't like. At the end of the day, I don't want to say what happened at the party because it wasn't, you know, it's at someone else's house.
Yeah.
There was nothing elite, like there were no drugs or anything like that. It was just a fun evening, and we were all drinking. You know. I don't do drugs anyway, so it wouldn't have been anything like that. But, you know, I was just getting really quite, not rowdy, but, you know, like when you've had a few drinks, it's just you're having a laugh and you're having fun. And she just didn't seem to get involved in it. And then as she left, they basically said to me, oh, we don't really want her back because she was a bit of a buzzkill. You know, she's not someone that we really want coming round because all she did was complain the whole night. And then did they want involved.
You to sort of break that news to her?
In a way. So I turned around and said to them, to her, oh, they've sort of said to me, you weren't really having fun at the party. They probably wouldn't invite you back because of that. Just being honest with you, you know. And then from there, she went off on one at them about it because she was so unhappy with how they mistreated her and the things that they'd said. She started going live and talking crap about them. I got sucked into it as well, you know, because I was trying to support both. So I went in and I said some nasty things about both sides eventually. I was immature and I didn't know what I was getting involved in.
Were you modding for her still then?
Yes. Yeah.
I suppose you're kind of sucked into that, aren't you? And if she's only sort of putting her side across, and that can be quite a motive and make you go to the defence of somebody, you know, I think we can all understand that.
Behind the scenes, she had mod WhatsApp groups, and a lot of people have that sort of thing. And in there, I realised afterwards, she used emotional manipulation on basically every moderator. They had to be in the lives, and if they weren't in the lives, they were going to be kicked out as moderators. She would post long voice notes crying and saying things like she'd nearly, and you can edit this bit out, but she nearly topped herself because of the bullying. And she would come in and make us try and feel really sorry for her. They would be like long notes crying and pausing and saying that she can't cope with it. And I've learned that she was continuously doing this even when I was no longer her friend. I mean, you may have seen some of the leaked voice notes that came out.
I think she cried about me in one of them.
Currently being messaged by TheFactFreak on my Facebook Messenger, and he's the one planning to do the deep dive tonight on YouTube as well as TikTok. He is asking me so many questions and focusing on me, and he's now trying to get me to talk about the cancer video. He's saying he's going to share a copy of the video tonight. Well, it's going to be an edited version, we all know that, because he's probably getting it from John. I'm asking him to look at John. I'm telling him I'm not going to be watching the live tonight. And you know what? I've just had enough. I have absolutely had enough. I'm not going to do anything stupid. Don't worry, I'm not. Jack is on standby for me to phone her if I really get desperate. But I've just had enough. I just want to be left alone. I've lost everything I've worked hard to build. All because of the fucking bastard that John is. I've got no social life now apart from with you guys and a couple of you who've got my personal number. I'm not going to have the contact talking with people for a while because TikTok was literally my life for the last year and a bit. Nearly a year and a half.
I'm going to be on TheFactFreak. I remember that.
She wasn't very happy, bless her. But it's just, and I could. The thing is, I was giving her the benefit of the doubt through the whole investigation into her little charity thing. But when I asked her questions, she was going round about the houses, and I was asking her black and white questions. And I played all the voice notes, as you know. I was not aggressive. I was trying to be helpful. I was like, if you've got this would clear you. Or I could be like, well, there's a mistake being made here. It's confusion. It is whatever it is. But as soon as she released a video just outright lying about me, I was like, all right, you're a liar then. So if you're a liar, you're capable of scamming people. And then obviously she couldn't back up anything she was saying anyway. So I was like, well, that's your character. Immediately, there's your character. And also, by lying and saying that I was aggressive, it's like you're saying now, it's that manipulation into the mods, people who are sucked into supporting her, that she's some sort of poor victim and that she needs help and that everybody's attacking her and it's horrible. And nothing makes people dig in their pockets more than that, in my experience, making themselves out like to be a victim. So
yeah. I mean, my only regret is that I didn't spot it sooner. I was part of this for 6 years, and I supported her through those 6 years. I paid thousands of pounds in gifts to her over the course of a year and a half. I'm a level 35 gifter, and a lot of that went into her and the Frenchies army. So I would say that I put in, thousands of pounds towards supporting her with battles that she would do and things like that, back when she started. And really it all, started to come to a head when there were so many different friends that she would talk down to. She created this friend group of girls, and I was a very close friend of Annette at this point, and we were talking all the time, and she created this group separate from me and started talking in that group and not in our normal one. So in effect, she sort of put me to one side, and they all moved into this other group. I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you in friendships, but it's not a nice place to be.
No, it isn't. It's because somebody, in my opinion, probably has an issue, whether the issue is genuine, but doesn't have the decency to respect your friendship enough to say that there is an issue, and instead blinkers on, and we'll slowly shut this person out and hope they go away. And no, that's not a nice place to put anybody. How did you find out about it then?
Well, basically, I'm quite a jokey person, so I make quite risky jokes, and I take the piss out of people a lot. And there was one lady in there, I made a joke about her weight, and I didn't realise that she was struggling. And the joke was simply something along the lines of, "Oh, we're all going on a cruise ship, but if something happens, you'll have to be, lifted off by helicopter." And it wasn't just about her weight; it was genuine. If you have a problem on a cruise ship and it's a health one, you get weight lifted off a cruise ship. So she took it really badly, and now after seeing, she's another TikToker who I won't name, but she's another TikToker, and I didn't realise she was really struggling with her weight, and that she's actually now gone on to have a gastric band and all this sort of stuff. And as soon as I knew, it took them 2 weeks to tell me she was really hurt and offended, right? Annette just randomly told me over dinner that she didn't like it. I was like, well, if she didn't like it, why couldn't you tell me that? And I would have immediately apologized.
Trying to put things right, yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have repeated it, you know. That's how relationships and friendships work. You have to tell people that. So basically, I found out then that they'd moved into a separate group because of that. And while we were on a cruise, actually, was where I was told she wasn't talking because of that, where I'd made that joke.
So were you on the cruise that you found this out on? Were you just with Annette, or were you with these other mods?
No, I was just me, Annette, and my partner.
Right, okay. And is this the cruise that you had that conversation with her as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So during that cruise, Annette told me that, you know, I said to her I felt left out. I wasn't part of this group. I really would appreciate it if you could involve me a bit more. And she started saying, well, it's just for girls. We talk about periods and things in there. And I'm like, that's fine if you want to talk about that sort of stuff. But that wasn't what it was. It was everyone was talking in there. They'd arranged a birthday party for Annette for her 50th. And they hadn't involved me or invited me to it. And I know it all seems so petty when you look back at it now, but when
it does sound to me like I've said, that she was trying to cut you out without having the decency of actually talking to you. So I get it.
Yeah, which is an emotional abuse in a way. You know, if you don't want to be friends with me, then just tell me. And eventually that's what ended up obviously happening. But because of the way she did it, it left me with a lot of hurt and pain initially when she did it. And now on the cruise, she started acting differently towards my partner. And I'd noticed this over the past few months, that because she'd started to become more popular on TikTok, she started to demand things from people.
Right, okay.
When we were on the cruise ship, she would say to staff, did you know I'm on TikTok? I've got this many followers. If people, you know, didn't react properly to her, she would give them a really snidey comment. And there was one time where someone was pushing a wheelchair up to help her, and she turned around and said, no, do not push my wheelchair, right?
No
and she
way.
these are staff members who work 12-hour days, you know, on board these cruise ships.
Yeah.
And she was shouting at the staff. It happened 2 or 3 times while we were on board, and I was like, this is a spoilt brat, you know. I'm starting to see now what she's like with people. And my partner, we were up at a lovely bar up at the top of the ship, and we knew she needed some space so she could get her wheelchair in. So my partner moved a load of chairs and moved the table, so it was all nice and neat for her to come in. And the first thing she did is, oh, you didn't really think this through then, did you? Because it wasn't on the side she wanted or something like that. And this was to my partner, who she didn't know that well. And I'm thinking, how dare you talk to him like that, right? Throughout the cruise, we had reserved her seats in various events like bingo, or when we were going to go play cards together or something like that. She then decided to sit down in the casino for an hour and not turn up for an hour until right when the show starts. People were like, is that seat free? Is that seat free?
Yeah.
And we said, no, it's not. And then after this happened 3 times and she hadn't turned up, and I'd asked her, are you coming? I had to sit down with her and have a conversation with her. I said, look, this is not how our friendship works. You're mistreating us. You're treating my partner horridly when he's just trying to help you. We know that you need help, so that's why we've been doing this for you. And you don't appreciate anything that anyone is doing for you. Yeah.
You're on a cruise, it's just you 3, and she is just basically just spending most of her time at the casino?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time in the casino as well, but the fact is, if we arrange to do something, I'll be there. You know, and she made us go to all these different locations on the ship throughout the 2 weeks, and wouldn't turn up on time. She would be half an hour late. Meanwhile, you know, well, we could be enjoying our holiday, and we've agreed to meet you to, you know, so we'd all have a bit of fun. And it was just that sort of, you sit there thinking, she doesn't respect me at all. You know, this is how she's treating us. And so the reason the conversation I had with her was 3 hours long is because she would not accept at all during that conversation that her behavior needed to change. And that is the beginning of what she's now like on TikTok. You've seen it from all the clips you've seen. she doesn't take responsibility for her actions.
Was there mod
And-
chats, always, like the mod chats you were in, were they always echo chambers? Was nobody ever saying, I think you're wrong on this, or maybe don't do this, or etc.?
No, you don't dare do that because you'd be kicked out and you'd be excommunicated from the little cult that she had.
Right.
It was only after mods left did they speak out, and I'm sure you've seen enough of that happening on TikTok from her ex-mods. Moderators would last maybe 3 or 4 months before they'd had enough of it. And I could count at least 20 moderators over the last year and a half that left her. And they really put a lot of effort into helping her, support her, gift her, be on her live and help her grow her channel. And she tosses them out at the end of the day because they can't put up with her behaviour.
And so obviously you had that conversation that needed to happen. It sounded like it was becoming a pressure point on that holiday, like it was all building up, the way she was treating you, cancelling plans, the way she was treating your partner, etc. And it obviously all headed towards that chat. And obviously when you're chatting with her and you can't get through, it's like chatting to the walls, then obviously I can understand it takes a while. But in those conversations over that time, like in that 3-hour chat, was there any moment where she really got her back up the wall, wasn't happy with what you were saying and what we were saying to her?
I was in tears at one point because I'd been doing this for 2 or 3 hours and I thought I had a good friendship. And I realised during that conversation she just wasn't taking any of it in. She says she was drunk. She'd had 1 apple cider or whatever. She wasn't drunk. You know, and she just wouldn't accept the responsibility. So I said, okay, fair enough. We'll talk about it. I'll chase you up when you get home. And so that's what I did. We got home. I messaged her and I said, oh, have you had any more thought about how you could get me more involved back in the group? You know, and she's read those text messages out on TikTok to everyone. And actually, it was a very supportive text message. I'll send you some screenshots of it so you can put them up on screen.
Yeah. Yes, so John has provided some messages there. I am sad to say our friendship is at an end. Friendship is about respect. You do not have any respect for me. Friendship is about love. You don't have any love for me. I had both for you, but after the last few weeks, I can no longer defend your actions. Friendship is also about trust. I no longer trust you. I cannot trust you will say or do things which will affect me. You have already done so multiple times without thinking about it, and I have been hurt by you. I'm going to be removing you from my Facebook. I will be removing you from the mod groups for TikTok. I would ask you to remove yourself from my Discord mods and put all control in my name. I will not be discussing any of this online, and I would ask you not to do so either. This has nothing to do with TikTok or anyone on there. I am sad it's come to this, but I need to be in control of my own life. I'm going on a family cruise in a few weeks. I know you two will be on the same cruise. Please leave me alone, and I will leave you two alone. I wish you the best for the future. I'm sad to receive this text. I'm sorry you feel the need to end the friendship over my actions. Please let me know if we could have a conversation sometime when it's easier for you to try and resolve your concerns. I offered to step away from all of the TikTok and online and just focus on spending time together away from that during our conversation. I regret involving in all of the online side of things and should have just stuck to meeting you on offline. Please remember who turned up for your shave. I'm surprised that you don't trust me anymore. I'm not sure I've done anything that would breach that trust.
Supportive text message, and I basically just said, you know, have you been able to sort this out? She turns around and then sends me a long message the next day saying, we're no longer friends. That was it. She blocked me immediately afterwards.
No way.
There was no response saying, you know, I've spoken to them. I'm going to see if I can help you with any of this. It was, we're no longer friends. You've basically abused me throughout our entire friendship, telling me how to run my life, and I'm not having it anymore. And then blocked me on everything.
why would she think that you were trying to run her life or whatever?
Because I was trying, as a friend, I had noticed what she was like, and I was just trying to say to her, look, you should probably think about treating people in a different way. I gave her some examples. I felt like she was excluding me from things, and I wanted to be more included in them. And she felt as though I was trying to tell her what to do. And she has a real mental health problem with accepting instruction or being told what to do by someone.
Mm-hmm.
And every time that anyone ever does that, you'll see how she reacts. Her last lives she's done recently have been like, I don't care what anyone thinks of me anymore. I'm going to do me. I'm not going to listen. I've listened to people in my life this whole time. The little bit of knowledge I've got on her family would tell me that she's had trouble in her family.
Right.
Of people trying to tell her what to do.
Okay.
Probably to help her. But she doesn't see it like that. And so it's a real trigger point for her.
Well, there must be a mindset, and obviously you've said there what she did publicly, reading that message out on TikTok, and obviously she messaged you and then blocked you immediately afterwards. But I'm aware, obviously, because we've spoken many times before, that she's done stuff to you since as well. So obviously, when that obviously became a very public thing, everyone knew that you had fell out. Did you then start making your videos about Annette as a response to that, or was there a little bit beforehand, or like how did we get to you starting to raise awareness in the way you did?
I started to talk to others about it. I posted a video saying that, you know, she had blocked me and this is what was going on. I made some mistakes, you know, I definitely went too far with what I ended up doing on some occasions, but the long and short of it was I felt really hurt by the fact that she'd done it in the way she did. I didn't feel she was taking responsibility for her behaviour, let alone the friendship. I was really worried she had a growing platform where she wasn't taking that responsibility and was going to harm others.
Yeah.
So at that point I realised, right, I need to start using the small platform I've got to highlight that to people. And so I wanted to show people that the things she was doing were not being run properly. I wanted to show them the way that she actually was behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I wanted them to see that. And she then started to react to that, which you've obviously seen from her 10-part series she did all about how I controlled her, which is just a load of rambling over the course of 3 hours, basically. Every video I've ever made about her came with proof of what she did and what she said.
Yeah.
And a number of her very close friends who went to her 50th party in London with her, they have all stopped talking to her now because of... Yeah, well, because these were all the, you know, the close-knit girls group that she had. They stopped talking to her because of the way she treated the cancer people, with the comments that she made. They tried to give her advice to steer away from things like that.
Well, that was one of the things where Annette didn't like about me, because and where this whole he sent aggressive voice notes came from. I asked her in my messages, send me the link to the news article that said, and because for those of you who don't know who are watching the podcast, Annette publicly said that having ME was worse than having terminal cancer. I don't know the exact quote, but that was it. And she had said, as a defence to that, when
cancer is easier.
Oh yeah, cancer's easier. Sorry.
Well, we can put the clip in.
Cancer is easier. Yes. I'm not making a joke about it. I'm simply stating a fact.
Except that it's not a fact. What about all of the people day in and day out that have a family member suffering with it and they lose them? What about day in and day out the people that carry on with their lives as best as they can but are dealing with chemotherapy and all of the treatments that they have to go through? Are you saying that that's not bad and that your condition is worse than that? How do you know that? Have you had a cancerous tumour that really hurts you every day? It doesn't make sense to me. These are the kind of videos that they post daily on their channel, talking about other people. But look on there, look, no drama. Yeah, really? And then let's post another video telling people that ME is factually worse than cancer. I mean, what is going through this person's head?
I asked her, I said, right, show me the news article, provide me the news article, and I was like, and then I will publicly say on my thing that there is a news article where that is said. So she sent me a link to a news article that didn't say anything like that. But what I noticed was if I googled the quote, that would be the first article that came up to the top of Google. So you know, if you Google something, Google will try its best to find the closest match for you. So all she'd done, presumably, was Googled what she had said and then gone, and put that link in, not realising that it says underneath words excluding or this, that and the other. So when I asked her about that, that's when she stopped messaging and said I was aggressive, and I was like, well, you've just been caught.
It later turns out that it wasn't a news article. It was a paper from somebody saying that their own opinion was they had both the diseases and were comparing them. But there was no scientific evidence to back it up. And my problem was not that Annette was quoting an article. That's been her defense the entire time.
Yeah.
First of all, in order to quote an article, you have to have some sort of belief behind that. You know, if you're going to quote an article, you obviously agree with that article. Why else would you say it?
Yeah, you wouldn't source it. Yeah,
exactly. So the fact that you're sat online telling people that's not what you meant is a load of bollocks. Because what she did, she doubled down. She offended people. She didn't apologise properly to those people. She then released a half-assed apology with a bird on her head dancing around. You know, thinking that we're all suckers, and didn't apologise properly for it, and left the article up for 6 months. Well, if you really genuinely didn't think that, like you were telling everyone, why did you leave the article up there?
Yeah, it's weird.
So the fact that she kept referring to it, and if you listen to the words in what she said in those videos, she says it's a fact that it is easier. It's not. And she then said, yeah, I actually do believe that sometimes cancer is easier. So there you go, that was her personal opinion.
If she had cancer herself, and I'm not wishing that on anybody, but if she had cancer herself as well as the condition that she has, and she then was like, oh well, in my opinion it's worse sometimes for me, and that, it's absolutely fine, that's an opinion, but saying it's fact, like you say, and then the half-assed apology is just absolutely pointless. I don't know why people on social media have such a hard time apologising. You're wrong, say you're wrong, apologise, make it clear there's no excuse, and don't do it again.
It was all followed up by the whole Ukraine charity appeal that she was doing, and
that was wild. I'm getting threatened by some CEO with their photoshopped bloody Rolls Royce or something. I couldn't deal with him. What was he called? Cliff? Was he called Cliff?
Cliff, yeah.
Oh, Cliff. Cliff. Poor Cliff. I know. Cliff, honestly, Cliff, you are clapped, mate. You are clapped. Google it. Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
The whole thing was a mess. It was just a mess. I think possibly her intention was good, or she was trying to be good, or make herself look good, or whatever.
Definitely
else.
Originally.
Yeah, but she just made a complete cock of it. Like, if I was going to raise money for a particular cause on TikTok, and I've said it before, gifts would be off. There'd be a link on my profile where the money would go direct to that thing, and that would be it. That's the easiest way to do it, because there's a paper trail, first of all, that everyone can see, or that you can provide easily. She had all these sort of things going off all over the place. It made absolutely no sense.
Yeah. I mean, I originally decided to look into it, to be honest, because she came out and said she was doing it for the pensioners over there. Then she said she was doing it for the children over there. And I'm sat there thinking, hold on a minute. If you're actually trying to support someone, you have to be very clear with who it is that you're getting money raised for.
Yeah,
and she was never clear for the first couple of weeks. She asked for gifts. And so, as we all know, only 30-40% of that money would end up in her pocket. The rest of it goes to TikTok. So it's a stupid way to donate to charity. And then she was working with this guy called Nick, who went over to Ukraine for obviously a bit of, publicity for some reason. And the two of them were trying to raise money for the charity. But as you know, I looked into the charity and I found out it was run by a guy that also ran a gambling website. And I have had a gambling addiction my entire life, so I really had a problem with this, because he was using the charity's Facebook page to advertise gambling. So I made a video saying, look, this guy is advertising gambling in there. Is this who you really want to be working with? That's when the attack started from both of them. I don't know if you want to move on to that as well.
I put Cliff on the long list of people who've threatened to sue me. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for something. Or I don't know whether it was the police and suing or both. But yeah, you don't advertise gambling on that sort of stuff 100%. Yeah, and then of course I suppose that's when I really came into it, and obviously had a look at it, tried to do like an impartial look at it. I involved her as well and asked her questions that she obviously didn't want to answer, and then, because she was crapping herself, because this is what happens. It's why I usually don't give people a huge heads up that there's a deep dive coming and who it's about. It's usually maybe advertised 24 hours beforehand. It's because that person will then try and smear me or say something, some sort of narrative, some sort of play the violin thing. You don't watch that because of this, etc. And that's exactly what she did when she started to panic. She obviously started telling everyone that, I was horrible and don't listen to me, but they don't realise that has actually a counter effect, because there's a lot of people who were supporting the net, who watched the net, who came into my live stream, were in those live comments and listened and changed their mind by the end of it. So, because they think, he's talking crap about her. Why is he talking crap about her? The people are too curious.
I knew I was doing the right thing by making these awareness videos, but until your TheFactFreak deep dive, I remember sitting down on my sofa watching it with my partner sat next to me, and I went, yes! Every time you were agreeing with everything I was saying, I was like, finally, someone gets it, right? Because you literally went through all the videos, you made an impartial decision on exactly what was happening, and then her reaction to that was to say that you were being hurtful to her and aggressive to her in comments. That's what she does. She turns it around back on you, and it was so good to see someone else have the same opinion on a lot of it,
Because, I've had that before with obviously different awareness things, and it is nice when you are passionate about something to have somebody agree with you, especially on a platform or whatever. But I wouldn't have agreed with it just for the sake of it. I agreed because I agreed. What I saw, was exactly what you were sort of pointing out. And then she proved her point about not being able to take criticism by going on the way she did. So obviously, when I did that video, and obviously then you had spoken out about, yes, this guy agrees, etc., you had even more kickback from Annette in different ways. I mean, you tell me. I'm going to put in all the stuff, because I know you've already sent me stuff about this before, and obviously with your permission I will obviously add this in.
Yeah. I think, we were just trying to do some good, both you and I, actually, by highlighting it, because you were affected by this too. What happened was, Annette, actively behind the scenes, I've since learnt out, and I'm going to send you the screenshots of the chats that she had with her mod group, where she tells them what she's doing to basically get back at me. She got all the group together, found out my personal details.
Wild.
They then gave my personal details, including my name and my age, date of birth and address and everything, to the guy from the charity, Cliff. He then he searched for me online, and he contacted everywhere that I was registered as a director or worked with.
Wow.
And he tried to get me sacked from every single job. So first off, he contacted my business partner, where I was doing the uniforms and the embroidery stuff that we were doing.
Right.
He sent him a text message, which I'll give you to put up on the screen.
Okay.
And in this text message, he basically says, "Are you aware of the type of guy that you're working with? You know, he made all this slanderous stuff up about me. As you know, in that
Wasn't
video, all I did
slander,
was
wasn't
I
slander.
post clips. I posted images of what he had done. So that's how it begun. All of a sudden, I started getting to my main place of work an actual written email complaints into my managers saying that, are you aware there's this guy who makes fun of disabled people?
Wow.
Exactly. In the line of work that I'm in, that's a big thing. I can tell you what it is, but don't put it in.
No, don't. Just in
Okay,
case.
okay.
But nobody wants to employ somebody who would be doing that to this. So, it sort of goes without saying.
They did an investigation, and they basically sat me down in a room and went through and said they actually had to go through my TikTok as well. And so now my workplace is looking into my personal life, and I didn't appreciate that at all. They were very supportive, to be fair to them. They were very supportive, but there was a period of time where I didn't know if I had a job.
Again, screenshots of evidence of the stuff he's just been talking about there. There's one here from the name's Luna. Anything anybody does could fire back on me and all of us, so please be very careful and let's do this strategically. This is when it's coming to find out John's personal information. If the charity is happy to run with this and take John down for us, or help us take John down, then that's fantastic. So please don't send anything that could be seen as a stir in the pot more. I am very stressed at the moment and trying my hardest to keep calm. The thing I wanted to do, like last year, was to help other people at the moment. I am even more determined that we are going to succeed and we are going to help people. We will show people that we mean business. This is wild. Absolutely wild. We've got a little one here there saying, please everybody, we need to be very careful that we stay on the right side of all of this. If anybody is going to help, we need to do it very cleverly. What she means is very slyly. And then we have one here. Does anybody have a screenshot of John's Facebook with his work details on it? Another one here where a message has been sent of John's TikTok profile saying, this is the disgusting person responsible. I am getting his name and address, etc. for you, but I will talk to you in more detail about it soon. This is insane.
They were targeting my house. They said she sent police round to my house on multiple occasions, claiming I was doing this and that. So I had police knock on my door at 9 o'clock at night. I've also got a clip of that, where he comes up to my door. He says, we want you to stop making these TikTok videos. And I said, well, what legal basis have you got for telling me that? Why are you even here? I actually said to them, there is no law that says I'm not allowed to say this. So she tried everything that she could in her power to target my work, my livelihood. And I never once, all of my awareness videos had nothing to do with her personal life.
Yeah.
It was to do with what she was doing on TikTok and harming people on there. And I have a real problem with people that decide to take matters out of TikTok and into your actual life, because it's not on for anyone,
Well, it just goes to the same pattern of behaviour we were talking about earlier with her, where she can't take the criticism, she can't take people calling her out. So if the sob stories are not going to shut you down, and working with her mods, she's going to muscle in on something else. But she's also manipulating those mods to act like vigilantes almost, to persecute you in your personal life, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I know I've spoken about it publicly, obviously you have, it happened to you, but I don't think a lot of people realise that she's capable of that sort of behaviour, to try and to go after people like that.
Yeah, I mean, the day that I got sent those leaked messages of her mod chat where she openly, I knew that she was behind it, but until you actually see it, you feel really vindicated at that point that actually this is what went on. And as I said, you'll put them up on the screen, but the way that she was talking, saying we need to be on the right side of this, we need to be really careful how we go about doing this, You know, if they want to contact John's workplace, I'm not going to discourage them. At the end of the day,
that's indirect. That's indirect.
Exactly.
You are hinting. That's what that's what you would like to happen, basically. You know, like you would. Yeah.
And in this mod chat, the bits I can't show you are basically all of them. Basically, for the afternoon, they went through my Facebook, they went through my workplaces, and they were sharing email addresses of my bosses at work between them all. They were sharing photos from my private Facebook account. They were going to my LinkedIn and all that sort of stuff, and they were sharing it amongst themselves in their own little WhatsApp group, all talking about targeting. They were all going to message my workplaces and do what they could to get me fired. They literally said all that in that chat. It's not made up. It's all there in black and white.
It's absolutely wild, absolutely wild.
And Cliff threatened you as well,
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, like, I may be a little bit more desensitized to that stuff than you are, but that's because I've been calling out S-offenders and God only knows what for years, and most of them, threatening me in some way or say they're going to do X, Y, Z.
She is surrounded by people like that. Whether it's the police, whether it's her family, whether it's these moderators, she's surrounded by enablers, and that's why she gets away with acting the way that she does. And until that stops, it will never stop, because that's her personality. And until people in her life turn around and say to her, you can't act like this, Annette, stop it, it's going to continue. And you're right, the police probably just wanted to be able to say to her, we've spoken to him. But that's no excuse. I bet she's like that with the benefits office. I bet she's like that with the PIP claim. No doubt she would have got away with things in her life because she's like that as an individual.
Yeah, she's
and it's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah. So
I want to touch on one last thing. I made some mistakes as well through this. I dressed up as her, right? I did Jonette. Initially it started off as something really funny, and I thought it was really funny, and it was really funny, and a lot of people loved it, and I crossed the line with that on one day where I threw myself on the floor and I pretended to fall over, and that's when I stopped doing it. I realized I was taking it too far.
Can I ask why you thought that was taking it too far? I haven't seen that particular video. Maybe you pulled it, but can you explain it, like why you thought it went too far? And
yeah, well, it's still there. It's still on my channel because I take accountability for things. I don't just delete it.
Okay.
It was a live, actually, not a video. I was doing a live dressed up as Jonette. I was in a dress with a wig on. It was quite funny. And I was getting well into it. It was an hour into it, and we were all having a lot of fun. And at one point, I fell on the floor and pretended I'd fallen over. Now, she is someone who struggles with mobility. And whether or not everything that she's got is entirely true, I don't know. I think she plays on it a little bit. But regardless, I took it too far because I felt that falling on the floor with someone who can't help that is against what I believe in. And so at that point, I said to everyone, I'm not going to do this anymore. So my personal opinion is the minute you start going at someone for something they can't change, such as a condition, then you are going too far. And so, I just wanted to mention that in this today because I don't want it to just be one-sided. I made mistakes as well. That was one of them. And I've learned from it, Yeah,
well, that's fair enough. That's what accountability looks like, which obviously we don't see a lot from Annette or other creators on the app, unfortunately. Now, one good thing out of this whole Annette thing, I would say, is your relationship with Pockers, which once again I realise sounds like I'm saying you're dating or something, but you become very close friends with Pockers. You've done live streams together and everything. How did that come about? Because Pockers was like right there with Annette at one moment, and now he's wearing a dinner lady's apron and having the time of his life.
I remember one time where I would go into Annette's live and he was up there enabling her while she was having a go at people on the app. When she would invite people into the box and she'd tell them how wrong they are and they'd try and convince her that she's an idiot, but he was in there supporting her, and I remember that, and I was like, I'm going to remember this guy Pockers because he said something I didn't like, and I can't remember what it was, but it was just supporting her. He was in that bubble, and it felt like me. That's what I was in. I saw him at the birthday party that he went to. She had invited a load of people to go along to this birthday party, and she made a big deal out of it, and actually only 5 people turned up. One of which was paid to be there because she's her person who looks after a bird. The other one was an actual stuffed teddy bear. And then the other one were moderators.
Oh my God.
So Pockers went along, and a lot of other people were going to go, but they couldn't make it. And he was there. You saw my video where I played, all around you are familiar. And he was just like, you know what it was? I did a live, right? We got a couple of thousand people in there, and it was the one where I actually got really hurt and upset. It was the day that I seen the messages from her mod group where she was telling them to target my work.
Yeah.
And that was like a big emotional day for me, because it was like, whoa, this is true.
Yeah.
I now know it's true. I did a live and I was like, guys, you all need to know what happened. He came up and he apologized, and he said, I regret being a part of that group. A number of the moderators came in, and I really respected that from him.
Yeah.
And he started to go live more. And I realized that his personality was one that sort of more matched with me, a bit of a joker, doesn't take things too serious, but deep down actually cares about human beings.
Yeah.
And so I started to go in there just to annoy him, really. I would just go in there and, like I do with you, where I come in and sing Talia.
Yeah.
I did little things like that. And we just got to talking more. And I said to him one day, I'm thinking of doing a show a bit like you, where I talk about Annette once a week. And he basically said, well, why don't we do it together?
Yeah.
So we started doing Tuna Tuesdays, and it's been a really, really big hit. It's been really funny.
I watch them.
We don't take it seriously.
When I come off my live, I go on my burner account now, because I don't like to come in and everyone, so I just kind of like to watch and listen, have it on in the background and that. And you guys have got a great dynamic. It's very funny together.
Yeah, well, I also invited him around to my house.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to sound big-headed, because I can do, and I quite often do fall into that category. But his channel was quite small when I first met him, and I started to go in his lives. It boosted his lives. I gave him some advice behind the scenes on how he could grow his channel, how he could start selling things on TikTok Shop a little bit.
Yeah.
How he could fund doing the things he wants to do, and we arranged to meet up to do some videos together and whatever. And he's stuck with it, and he's really doing quite well now, and I'm really proud of him for how far he's come. Behind the scenes, he's a brilliant father to his son, and I know he's had a lot of troubles in his personal life, but to see him come online and be just a genuine person is great, and that's really where our friendship grew. And he was around here just this last weekend, and we did the Rage Room together, where we were doing,
that looked so fun. That looked so much fun. I reacted to the videos. I think there was 2 videos.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because I was like, this is hilarious, and I love it. And I was like, should I do it? And then I was like, I can't just go in on my own. And then I was like, maybe I look even more psychotic if I'm like, just give me an hour in a bat and stuff. But it did look a lot of fun.
I mean, you get sledgehammers and baseball bats. They lay it all out for you. You go in there and you can just smash whatever you want, and it does help you release some of that stress that you have building up inside you.
Yeah.
And we had Talia's song playing in the background, so it was really good to have that
was
going.
Reacted to. Yes, that was reacted to. It's I'm glad that obviously this friendship's going well, but obviously you've got Pockers more so than you, but I've got involved in maybe a little bit of drama on TikTok, because Pockers, he's now proudly calling himself a Rat Pack member, isn't he? He's now proudly saying that he's part of the Rat Pack. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not team either. I think both sides have done stuff. I don't think you can actually keep track sometimes unless you're watching it all the time of who said what first and who you're supposed to back. So I just react to what I see. And I peed myself with laughter when Luke the Judge said about you, and he was like, was it fishing or something? Jordan fishing.
Fishing.
Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, I was like, John, you and your fishing, it's got out of hand. But obviously, like, I can't remember what Luke was actually even calling us out for.
He was basically saying that we use the net for clout. Which we did, as everyone does on TikTok. At the end of the day, though, and my response was this: Luke is the biggest clout chaser on the app. He literally is in Miss Red's shadow every day. He uses her platform to grow his own platform, and his own platform is just sitting there and critiquing every single thing that everyone does. So it's about time that people critiqued him. He's a nasty person from what I've seen. Really is a nasty person and not a nice person. He dances awkwardly at those little events he went to with Miss Red.
I ain't going to say anything about dancing because I'm a fucking shit dancer.
No, but I wouldn't put it up there in front of people. So
no, I think it was filmed. To be fair, it was filmed by somebody else. It was filmed by somebody else, and then it got put up because I stitched it when it got dropped, and I did the dance alongside him. You know what I mean? Like friendly trolling, But yeah.
But I don't have a massive problem with him. My problem is if you're calling someone out, don't be doing it yourself. Yeah, it's such a contradiction to be doing that. So don't call someone else for clout chasing when your entire platform is built off of that yourself.
I think sometimes, because Luke was then gifting Pockers afterwards. I think sometimes Luke is very reactive, and I don't think he thinks before he reacts sometimes. Which I think we're all capable of. I think that's a human thing anyway. But also, I do think sometimes it becomes manufactured drama on TikTok without it being very clear. So, obviously, Pockers getting a lot of support from the Rat Pack, and they know what they're doing. They're pushing him out, and and why not? Why not? And if Pockers wants to ride the wave of that, maybe it'll be a genuine thing. You know what I mean? I'm not criticising that. The Evil Queen supported me when I used to talk about S-offenders and I had 20 people in my room. She would jump in the box and she would just sit there to bring the viewers in when I was talking about people, and I've always given her credit for that. But whether or not, I think I worry that somebody like Pockers is being used as a tool to affect somebody else. Do you know what I mean? And then when that person then reacts, then you can be like, oh, well, that's horrible. And I don't think either party who are playing the game, and Pockers is not playing the game, either party playing the game probably don't really care about it.
No.
It's just sort of dealt with.
The thing is, I after you take a step back from TikTok drama for a while, you start to see it for what it is, and a lot of the people involved in this, it's just a load of nonsense at the end of the day. There's no drama there, they create it. The vast majority of the time, it's just entertainment purposes only. It's like EastEnders. Pockers is well aware of the fact that this won't last very long, and he genuinely is enjoying it. He's not being affected by it in any way, and I've had a number of conversations with him behind the scenes, and he's enjoying it. I don't think he'll be hurt if it suddenly stops for any reason. He does it for the fun. That's it, really. He always says that. He says he does it for the funsies. And if I look back on the whole Annette situation, everything we've spoken about today, I don't regret it because I've met some really amazing people from it. I would never have met you, Pockers, half of the ex-moderators that I talk to. There's a little group that we have. I would never have met Andy, the anti-TikToker. I've been given an opportunity to make some really good friends out of it, and not just TikTok friends. So I also learned a hell of a lot about how to deal with someone like her.
You've also learned a lot about yourself, though, John. You've learned a lot about yourself because you've sat here while we've been chatting and you've critiqued yourself as well. So it seems like it's been quite a lot of growth for you. And of course, what I wanted to get onto, which I think is the ultimate slam dunk, is they tried to affect your work. And what do you do now, John?
Yeah, ironically, I found work through TikTok. So I now sell cruises on behalf of a really good price comparison app. And I've sold 125 cruises in the last 3 months. And, I'm doing much better than I ever was. And it all came from all of that. And I again, very grateful for the opportunities I've been given from it, and I'm doing something that I love, and that's really the important thing, you know.
So what's the? I don't know, like what for a cruise when you book a cruise, right? What's the best cruise you've ever been on? What do you tell people, like the number one?
I have some beautiful cruises booked for next year that I think will top it. Like I'm going over to Mexico and the Bahamas next year, and I'm doing Greece and Italy next year for 2 weeks. But as it stands right now, the natural beauty of going to the Norwegian fjords and sailing through those with the ice-capped mountains, the crystal clear water, the little red wooden huts on the rolling hills.
Sounds amazing.
Absolutely beautiful.
Sounds absolutely amazing. And I'm going to tell you a little story about me. My only experience with cruising, which is hilarious. So I was very young. I was like a kid, right? And we were on a Royal Caribbean cruise. So I assume we're in the Caribbean. And they had their own little island or whatever. They owned some island or something.
Coco Key, yeah.
What was that?
It's Coco Key.
Yes, it is. I've not heard that for like years. I didn't even. Right. So anyway, I went obviously onto there, and the sand's so hot. You put your feet on it, you're burning your feet and everything. And my sister and I went into the sea, and she was on like one of these lilo things that were there, pushing through the water, and there were these sort of like seaweed sort of thing, but there was a big circle where it was just clear sand, and I was like, as a kid, like, well, this is a bit weird, isn't it? This is a bit weird. And when in the middle of it, ow, and I was stung by something that completely like sent me off. And the lifeguards were there, everything like that. I had to get shot with something. I don't know what it was. And then they said to me parents, they were like, "Oh, it happens quite often." And I was like, "What was it?" I have no idea.
Like a jellyfish or
some
something?
Sort of like fish or something had stung me. But when I went into that circle where the seaweed was, it was warmer. That part of the sea was warmer than the rest as well. And then obviously, like, I went through that. So my only memories of a Caribbean cruise is being stung by some random fish, and also one day being on the boat and touching the floor and going, "Ow, that's hot." So that's all I can remember. But I mean, to be fair, I was very young. But
you have to book another one then.
I have. Well, maybe this next question will lead on to whether I do. Swingers, John. Is it true? Is it true? Are there swingers on cruises? I've heard stories, John. Can
well, I mean, I've never personally met one. But there's a symbol, the upside down pineapple, which a lot of cruise ships have now banned, which people would put on their door to highlight that they are someone that would like to do that. Yes.
Wow. I've heard about it because people were like bringing magnets. Because it was people who were pranking. So they were walking through this cruise shop and just throwing these pineapple magnets on random people's doors, and I was like, "Oh no!" Yeah. And then that led to me doing some rather concerning Googling. So you said there was your next few cruises could top the best. So what are they? Where are you going?
I have a lot coming up, to be honest. I've got a Disney cruise coming up in about a month, and probably by the time this is released, I'll be on that Disney cruise. I've got a group cruise where I'm going with Pockers. I'm going with a number of followers as well, so that'll be fun. Just a little Royal Caribbean cruise from Southampton. But next year, I've got some really nice cruises where I'm flying over to Miami, going down to Mexico and Belize and the Dominican Republic and the Bahamas, and I'm going to Princess Cruises Private Island.
Oh, right.
So like a bit like the one that you went on. They're nearby. So I'm going to be on the lookout for any sort of fish that might try and sting me. So I'm looking forward to all of those. And then finally, August next year, I've got a 2-week cruise down to Greece to go to Santorini and that sort of area, and Italy, Palermo, some really lovely places in the heart of summer. Very excited for it.
Nice, that's great. Well, It's been a pleasure to talk to you, John. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Maybe you'll come back, yeah?
Yeah, I'm more than happy. I mean, look, maybe we could do one with Pockers at some point.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Let me know in
Yeah.
the chat, guys. Let me know in the comments if that's what you'd like. But yeah, I'm definitely up for that. Right, I'll say peace. Catch you in a bit.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the podcast. Right here, if you're watching on YouTube, there'll be a little box. You can catch up on some of the episodes from other seasons you might have missed. Don't forget to hit like, and obviously subscribing is totally free on here. Thank you, guys.